What are your opinions?
My opinions.
Yep.
Good movie. 95% of the jokes hit perfectly. The CGI was either absolutely perfect or dog shit.
That it?
Yeah, kinda.
So I just finished watching Deadpool and Wolverine, and it was very good. I had an absolute blast with this movie. It was very fun, it was very emotional at times, and honestly I was blown away, because I wasn't really expecting much going into this, but what they did with certain elements of this film, it did blow me away. We've seen stuff in this film that we've never seen in the MCU before, let alone in any Deadpool movie before, but before we get into any of that, let's go into this non-spoiler part of this review. I'm going to talk about what I liked and what I disliked. Of course, starting with the positives. Oh my god, did you guys see that? Starting off, this is one of the most best looking superhero films that I've ever seen. The visuals, the cinematography, the settings, everything just came together and worked really well, especially with the coloring. They knew how to use coloring in this movie so particularly well. Never seen it in a MCU film before. Obviously there's been some really good stuff, but I think this movie just really amplified it. Like I said, this movie was so much fun. It definitely didn't lose any of what the previous Deadpool movies had. In fact, it probably improved on it. This is the first R-rated MCU film that's like official Marvel Studios, and it's the only MCU film we're getting this year. If we're giving people time to make stuff like this, give them their time, okay? I don't mind waiting. Choreography in this movie was absolutely fantastic. Every single fight scene was just gorgeous. Gorgeous to watch, fun to watch. Everything was just rehearsed perfectly. There was this one specific long shot scene of just this massive battle. No cuts, just non-stop fighting. Choreography was perfect. It lined up incredibly. The acting, once again, Hugh Jackman comes back. I think what he did in this movie was spectacular. He captured the essence of that old Wolverine acting in his like PG-13, M-rated films for us Australians. He still had that serious undertone of the Logan, and then he just brought something completely new into this field game. I've never seen Hugh Jackman act like this. The soundtrack, incredible. Absolute bangers, and absolute bangers at the absolute right time. Every single scene that there's a song playing, it is supposed to be in there. You can tell by the lyrics what it's meant to be representing. The scene is very impactful, and the music just helps it so much on both a fun level and a scientific level. I don't know the wording. Couple of things that I didn't like. The CGI was still a bit goofy at times. Now the visual effects were something to adore. They were great, especially with Dogpool, especially with things like these massive fight scenes that they're having where they have to amplify certain characters and whatnot. I think the visual effects were very impressive, but sometimes the actual CGI, it's still in that era of like the She-Hulk sort of era where these guys are just getting rushed too much. So I think we need to let him breathe. If we just give him more time, and space these projects out, we'll finally get CGI like we did in Infinity War. Well, that's kind of a bad example. In like Civil War, that had good CG. Another thing, the set pieces. They were quite small, and at times they felt quite empty. They would have this very big space and only use a very small amount of it. One thing in particular was the Ant-Man arena. I feel like that could have been a lot better. Now the characters, I don't know how they did it. They fleshed out, especially Deadpool and Wolverine. I think they did a fantastic job with those two, and those two are the main reason for this. Obviously there's a lot of jokes. Deadpool isn't a very serious character, but when he is, it doesn't take you away from his like joking side. And obviously Wolverine is such this troubled, guilt-ridden character, and every emotion that he felt in this movie I felt as well, and that was probably partly because of Hugh Jackman's acting. I'm probably saying everything about Wolverine that I haven't said before, but it's just good job. Alright, going into spoiler territory now, I'm going to talk about spoilers. There's quite a lot. This movie is very reliant on spoilers, so if you don't want to spoil, skip. But here we go, spoilers, 3, 2, 1, you were warned. There are a lot of cameos in this film. There are old faces, there are new faces, and oh boy, I enjoyed them. While there were a lot of X-Men references, which I touched up on before going into this movie, there were also a lot of old Marvel projects, and that just put a grin on my face. I know they're terrible, but it's what I grew up on as a kid, especially Daredevil and especially Blade. But seeing Chris Evans there and then turning into the Human Torch, that lost me. Seeing Elektra, seeing Blade walk into that room, I was like, then Gambit walked in, and I was like, oh, this one's for the nerds. Very much this movie is for the nerds. Got a little glimpse into the future with Thor and everything. This movie's hilarious, by the way. I forgot that's not a spoiler, but absolutely hilarious. Probably the funniest one of the three. Another thing, this movie had a lot of excuses as to why certain things worked in this one and not other ones, and it sort of unwrote the canon like Marvel's been doing a lot recently. But I think a really smart way that they dealt with it is that it was just a little comedy sketch that they wrote it off as. It was like, well, I know this is not exactly how this is supposed to be, and what are we going to do to not go down that path? We're going to go down that path. And I thought it was just a quick way to, push that out of the way and just... But I feel like the MCU is still in this low point, which they referenced in the movie, which is very funny. I enjoyed all the references in the movie, or as many as I understood. But so far, all the projects are the TVA, and I feel like Marvel's not really going anywhere from here. This is the only interesting story that they have, and it's already getting old. But that is my review on Deadpool and Wolverine. It is very good. I don't know if I'm influenced by nostalgia, by the references, by the comedy, but all in all, I felt under the surface of that, it still was a good movie with things to love about it, such as the characters, the acting, the settings. That is my review. I'm giving this movie an 8 out of 10. Hope you enjoyed this review. Have a good day.
The people in the fucking theater were having a laugh. Please make sure I had that, bro.
The lady at the back, bro.
Oh, we had the guy that had the most guttural laugh I've ever in my life, and then we had the cackle in the back, and it was amazing. I'm sad no one stood up and started clapping.
Why didn't you?
I'm a follower, not a leader.